Oh, yeah.
Hello. This thing is on. I'm Jacqueline Coley. How are you? Thank you all for being here, and especially thank you all for buying a ticket to see the movie in the theater. I'm going to bring our incredible guests, but I just want to remind folks, when we get done with the Q&A, if you all could please hold your seats, because we'll actually have to get to another screening. But please allow me, without further ado, to welcome to the stage the star and the man we just saw do all of that. Is this thing on? Mr. Will Arnett.
Thank you.
I really do feel like I'm at the Comedy Cellar with this spot, but I feel like for you, this puts you right at home, right? Especially for what you were doing on stage. So talk about how the role kind of came to you and Bradley's sort of like ideas around it and everything.
Okay, yeah. Well, first of all, again, I want to say thank you. Thanks for coming tonight and buying a ticket to see me. I obviously lived with this for a long time, but tonight is the first night that I'm coming into a theater with a bunch of people who bought tickets to come and see it. So for me, I'm really grateful for all of you having come to see the film tonight. So I want to start by saying that. Truly a dream come true. Yeah, a long time ago, I was on a barge in Amsterdam, true story, and I met a guy by the name of John Bishop, and he told me the story of how he became a stand-up comedian, which was and John, I encourage you to look him up, he's a super funny guy, big comedian in the UK, and he told me the story of how he was going through divorce with his wife, and he went into a bar, they were charging a cover, because they were doing an open mic, he didn't want to spend the cover, he wanted to spend the £4 to get in. And so he put his name down. And he, for the first time, started talking about his life and himself, kind of to the world and also to himself. And he was telling me this story under the guise of like, this is how I became a stand-up. But to me, it really resonated about the relief that he got going in and doing something that was way out of his comfort zone. And then he started going back week after week. And so all of that was true, and then months into it, he didn't tell anybody his life, he was doing it. His now estranged wife, she came in with a new group of friends and saw him on stage, and she had no idea. And that part was entirely true. And that helped them reconnect and start talking again. So that really, I really responded to that story. I asked him if I could write a movie based on his life, which is a tricky thing to ask someone. And, or inspired by it, and then we were working on it for a while, and then I gave it to Bradley. Bradley and I were old friends, and he asked me what I was working on. I sent him the script, and he called me one day, he FaceTimed me out of the blue and said, I want to work on this with you. Yeah, that was how it started.
And I think we've all seen the incredible work that he's done behind the camera as well as what he's done in front of the camera, but I think his approach to how he filmed you in this is something that is very noteworthy for folks that don't know. He actually trained to be a camera operator and joined the union so that he could actually be behind the camera while you were filming these, which is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, not just that, as you guys just saw, it's the camera's like in my face the whole time. That was Bradley operating the camera. And it was new for him. We started when we were in the pre-production phase and just camera testing. He was trying different cameras, and as we were shooting stuff in New York with no permits and walking around, one day he's like, I think I gotta operate. And I think that we sort of developed this language of the film, if you will, of being this super, he always knew he wanted it to be quite close. But that kind of came out of that process. So the whole movie, he's shooting and he he's right in my face, a foot away from me, talking to me as well, as we're doing the scenes, walking me through it, talking, and it was a very kind of intense, intimate relationship between, with him operating and talking, and
Well, I have to ask you, because obviously he's an actor, and I think there's such a shorthand that you would have, plus your actual relationship, but I'd be curious, what was a moment when he was sort of like Bradley, director or camera operator, where you were like, I've never seen that before, because this is the first time you're working with him in that director-actor relationship, where he kind of gobsmacks you a little bit?
The first one, to be honest, I think, when we first started, when he came on and started working on the script, again, I've known him really well, and I've always been such a fan of what he does as an actor, as a director, as an artist, if you will, and I don't think I fully appreciated what it took. Really, from the moment he started writing with us, I realized, he's operating on a different level. He brings so much to it. He's such an incredible, a student of cinema and all that kind of stuff. And so there was that kind of phase of it, and seeing the intensity, and then once we started shooting, how relentless he was pretty amazing. And he just kind of made everybody, he raised all boats, because he just comes in, I don't know how many of you work in and around the industry or are familiar with, I'm sure a lot of you do. There's no video village on Bradley's set. There's no lounging around. Everybody comes in call, we shoot immediately. He's unusual. He doesn't do like action and cut. It's a conversation, the camera starts rolling, he pulls it up, and everything is very fluid, and it's just a non-stop, relentless process of trying to, every moment, every scene, trying to be as authentic as possible. And it's tiring, and it's also exhilarating, and it's scary, and I was out of my depth a little bit. I felt like at the start I had...
we saw what you know.
Well,
we watched the movie, sir.
It's been a while. It was scary, I was like, wow, I'm 54 and I'm really scared, of being vulnerable and being in this position, and so it took, the whole thing was really intense in the best way.
Do you want to get scared like that again? I wonder.
Yes.
I just feel like it may be addicting, right? Because then you jumped out and then you gave us this, which is an absolutely breathtaking performance.
Well, thank you. It's funny, about December, about maybe a month ago, we were in New York and doing a bunch of work for this, like a lot of press, etc. And it was at the end of about 4 days in a row, pretty exhausting. And I ended up, Liz, who's the manager of the Comedy Cellar, she's really the manager at the Comedy Cellar in New York. A lot of those people are all work there. Waiters, everybody. We wanted to really, if we were all to go over there, if we were all got on a bus together right now, and went over to the Comedy Cellar in New York, we'd see all those people. We'd see all those dudes hanging outside, and you'd see David Tell smoking a cigarette outside for sure. And so about a month ago, we were working, and I said, I texted her out of the blue, and I said, if I show up tonight at 10 o'clock at the Cellar, could I go up? And she said, yeah. And I don't know what came over me. I hadn't done it since we did the movie, and when I was in prep, I was going up as Alex Novak. I had never done stand-up before, so I was going up every night for about 6 weeks as Alex Novak to prep for it, and doing those sets that we wrote for the movie. This time I had a bunch of jokes that I, over the course of the last year, had written down. Anyway, I went over there, I don't know why. And I went up and I did 12 minutes of stand-up. And I actually had to introduce me as Alex Novak. And then halfway through I said, I'm Alex Novak, it's a character, the name of the character for this movie I just did. So if you don't like the jokes, I'm Alex Novak. If you do, my name is Will Arnett. So I had some cover, Yeah. But it was fun, it was exhilarating, it was addicting.
Oh, I love that. Also, the Comedy Cellar is a no cell phones room, so that was an experience for just those people in that room, which is so great.
Yeah, you can say whatever you want.
Yeah. We would be remiss if we got out of here if we didn't talk about the sort of two-hander in this with what you're doing with Laura Dern.
The great Laura. How great is Laura in this room?
And there's so many moments with y'all all, but that's another aspect of Bradley's filmmaking in this, is because your coverage, you have to do her, and the kind of the way that you guys set the camera. I'm curious, what was your favorite moment, sort of being in those intimate scenes with her? Because I'm pretty much all of them, I feel like y'all are like face to face. Y'all must have really invested in the Altoids for this shoot. I don't know. But what was your favorite one of those like close-up moments?
She's got great breath. Well, I don't know what she does. You know, there were a lot of moments, and we didn't shoot this like a traditional, we didn't do a lot of wides and then get into coverage. A lot of it was in one shot, you know, and a lot of it was the camera moving, and we wanted it to feel like you were there, as opposed to watching it, that you're kind of in it, and that the camera is another character, and kind of really experiencing it. And we did have, because we had those long takes, you were able to kind of build that intimacy in those scenes and have it play as naturally as possible, not improvised, but just natural. And so there were a lot of those moments, you know, the lice scene, for instance, where we're making lice out of each other's hair. I don't know if you've ever done it, it's an intimate experience. I've done it with my kids a few times. One of my sons, man, he gets it a lot. And, there's a good place in Studio City, by the way, where they do a wash. I'm not kidding. That's just a tip. And they know me there. And so there was that, and there was, you know, the scene, of course, where Alex and Tess kind of come together and they sleep together again at Alex's apartment. I just remember that at that point of the shoot, we were sort of deep into it, and we really had this shorthand. And Laura's such a beautiful performer, and you know, it's pretty tough to not get into a really good groove when you have a dance partner like Laura Dern. She just brings so much to it. She's just brings such sort of rich emotion and everything. And so that scene in particular was really, really good. It's one of those scenes where when you're done, you can't even, it feels like it felt effortless, and it feels like a dream, like it just kind of happened. And you could have been there for 5 minutes, or you could have been there for 5 hours. You have no idea how long it was. Yeah.
I will say this, as much as y'all, I feel, are in this tennis match, there's one scene at the end, and it was when I walked in here, and it's such a good scene. It's between you and Karen Hines, and it's the after the crash out, I guess is the best way to put it, moment on stage. And I love that scene because it's mostly on him. And when we come back to you, you were just in a different place than you were when you walk out into the alley. And I don't know how, be a good actor, I guess is the answer, but how do you sort of, what was Alex's sort of like underlying dialogue? Because so much is being said without you really saying anything in that moment.
I think Alex comes off the vampire scene where he's so frustrated because you know, the scene before that really informs that, not just the scene in the attic, but the scene outside on the water in Oyster Bay, when he shows her the photo and he's like, look what I did, and he thinks he's doing something that's really great for her. And she's like, why would you do that? And you realize how far apart they are, and how they each have such different perspectives. And he's so frustrated, he doesn't understand that. He doesn't have enough perspective yet. Like he's grown because of all this stuff, but he hasn't really broken through to understand. That's the whole thing, seeing it from her perspective. And it's not until, and so when he goes out on stage and he just kind of invent what we call vampire, and he just unloads, because he's so frustrated. His dad comes up, and I think that once you get around on Alex, he's kind of like a little boy again, you know, and he's there, and he doesn't have the answers. What was interesting about that scene was Kieran Hines, who plays my dad, I hadn't met him. He flew over from England, and we wrote that part. It was a really important scene, and it just so happened, you rarely shoot things in order, but we did vampire, and then, which was a really intense moment shooting it, you know, and especially because Bradley's operating with the two of us up on stage and doing this dance and sort of having this emotional explosion. And I went outside and walked around the block as they were setting up outside, and Bradley said, we're gonna shoot it, just sit on the stairs. And Kieran's gonna come up, and I never met him. I didn't meet Kieran Hines until he came up in the scene. I met him as Alex. And what was interesting was, it's not like some sort of trick that we decided before, it just happened in the moment. It was kind of an idea that Bradley had because it's an important scene, and let's try to figure out a way to be really in that moment and not give it too much importance and see what happens. And Kieran Hines is such a beautiful performer. And I think that we were both able to kind of just be in the moment as these two people. And it was really special to be able to watch him and to be in that scene with him and make it so real. It was a special moment.
Yeah, and it's really special to watch. I think it's one of my, very emotional scene, and it only highlights by the time we sort of get to the end of it. I'd be curious for you, this film, I would say it's a departure because watching you in it, you actually talked about how maybe this was the work you would have been doing when you first moved out. I'd be curious, doing it now, as you say, at your age, I'm not going to say that number again, you do that, but you know what I mean?
I'm 55 now, I'm not.
No, but how gratifying is this moment to sort of have it this way? Because I think it is a different look for some people, but it might feel like a homecoming for you.
It does. It does, and it is gratifying. I do feel like, it was transformative in that way. I said it before, what Alex kind of went through with the stand-up and what it did about revealing a lot of stuff about him, doing this process for me had this similar effect. I kind of realized as we were shooting, just being vulnerable in this way reminded me of why I wanted to do what I do and why I moved to New York when I was 20 from Toronto, was to do something like this. And it was really revelatory to me. It was just very life-changing. Even if I never do anything else again, just as on a personal level, it was really gratifying for sure. Yeah.
Awesome. And I think you already alluded to it, but my last question was going to be for you. If you were going to do your go into an open mic moment on a whim, what would be your go into it scared moment in your personal Will Arnett world? And you can't say this movie because it might have been that.
What would be my
if you were I'm just gonna go see if this brings me joy, but this is so scary to me, kind of what would be your new random addiction if you could go sign yourself up for one? Yeah.
I can't say just drink a huge Diet Coke in front of a room full of people.
I mean, you can, but we would like to know a little deeper.
I don't know. God, I don't know. What would I do that? I don't know. There's lots of stuff. Don't you guys have a lot of stuff that would scare you to go do? Yeah.
That's a good one.
That question's too good.
Well, hopefully, whatever it is, you do it.
I will say this before we end. I know I've got to go somewhere else and I've got to be there in a minute to do another thing, but I do want to say thank you. We never get a chance to do this, and I always feel bad, and everybody's going to be mad at me. But I'd love to take 2 questions from the audience, even though we're not supposed to, because you guys came here to watch it, and I want to hear from you guys. So I'm going to pick. Go ahead.
There's a moment in I don't remember if it's the first or second time that you do stand up, where you're looking directly in the camera. Is that by direction, or is that to connect with the audience, or is that a moment of confidence within you and realizing I'm falling in love with this? Whereas normally you're darting around the room, but then suddenly you're telling jokes, looking directly at the camera with confidence.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I don't know if you guys heard, she asked about looking directly at the camera the second time I go up. I think that one of the things we wanted to do was track Alex's comfort level on stage. And the stand-up was also informed by what he's going through emotionally throughout the film too, so there's a bunch of different things we're trying to layer into those performances, but certainly to see him be more confident, 100%. We wanted that's something so we can kind of track what his emotional quotient is at that point for sure. One more, go ahead.
Hi there. So my question is, you as an actor, you've done a lot of
Are
comedy.
you taking a selfie right now?
No.
He's taking a selfie.
I'm recording the Q&A, sorry.
Just for home use?
I posted on YouTube for others to see it.
Okay.
My question is, you do a lot of comedy, and your comedy is usually absurdist or crazy, like you look at Arrested Development,
Yeah.
or the Parks and Rec episode where you play the radio.
MRI, yeah.
But in this, you're more grounded. This is a more grounded performance. Was it really different for you to go from all these absurdist sort of comedies to a more grounded dramedy, I guess you could say?
100%, it was. It was different to go, I don't know if you guys heard it, different from doing the stuff that I've done before that I'm maybe more widely known for. Or not widely or whatever. But I'm nichely known for it. It was a different gear. It was something that I used to do that, as a young actor that I wanted to do, and sort of going back to it was, but interestingly enough, because I've been asked a version of that question before, not that it's not a great question, one of the things I think the through line for me was, and every time for me, the comedy that I liked, the comedy that I always tried to do was, even if it's a character like Joe from Arrested Development, who's so insane, and basically like, that's not why I said it, he's not really tethered to this world that we live in, but for me, what was important was to be committed to that. I have to believe that I'm him for you to believe that he's real. And that's the kind of the common thread in it. And it's just a little bit of a different gear, doing something like this that is, and also doing a scene that there's no punchline.
Yeah.
That there is, and I wanted to feel genuine and reflective of, we wanted all these characters, Alex and Tess and everybody, and all these performances to feel like these are people that we know. These are our neighbors, they're our cousins, these are the people who we live with, and we wanted to feel so that you can identify with it in a real way. That's the hope. So, but yes, it was a different gear, so thank you.
These are great. Y'all are taking my
Yeah, you
jobs.
guys are awesome.
I want to thank you all for listening. Thank you for being here.